Sound's been pretty good in here, actually. Hello. Hi, Max. Are we ready to go? Yeah. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Between Two Simulators. We're here at IMSH25. Again, 25 years of IMSH. Wow. So we're lucky enough to be joined by Professor Sharon Weldon, who's the incoming president of ASPiH in the UK, and hails from Greenwich University. Sharon, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
See you.
Yeah,
good to see you. Last time I saw you was only in November in ASPiH. Yeah. So both sides of the world. Brilliant. I just wondered if you could give us a quick overview of your career so far and how you started it and how you got into simulation.
Oh gosh, a quick overview. It's a long story.
Take your time.
Like lots of people. So I am a nurse by background. I'm still a registered nurse, actually. And I became a nurse, actually, because I was quite unwell as a child. 16 to 18, I had got wrongly diagnosed with a rare form of bone cancer.
Wow.
And then they treated me for that. And then they left a swab in my arm. And this is quite important to the story, but I ended up with a really bad infection in my bone. And so I spent 2 years of my life really in and out of hospital. And when I got better, I took off around the world and I spent 4.5 years traveling the world, living in different places. And then when I decided, what do I want to do with my career, the nurses had been really fantastic in terms of kind of emotionally supporting me through what I'd gone through. And so I had this admiration. So I decided to be a nurse because also I could travel as a nurse. And then I became a nurse. I worked in operating theatres and I worked in infectious diseases. Particularly HIV and TB, where I specialised. And I wanted to make change. I was frustrated often with the places I worked. I felt that things could be better, they could be improved, but it was really difficult to make change. And so someone said to me, if you want to make change, why don't you get into research? So I did a master's in global public health. I got into research, and I started research, interestingly, in TB diagnostic tools. And then a project came up for looking at communication in operating theatres, which I'd always been fascinated by for two reasons. One, because I'd had a swab left in my arm. And two, because when I'd worked in them, I'd found that they could be, depending on the teams, they could be quite problematic communication-wise. And that project was with Professor Roger Kneebone. And so that's how I met Roger Kneebone, and it was a fabulous project. We had huge amounts of outputs. It went global, all over the news, and I was then going to leave for a career in public health, global public health, and Roger asked me to stay and work in simulation. So I stayed and I did my doctorate in it, and I did wonderful projects, as you can imagine, with Roger. We were really kind of looking at simulation in different ways, testing the boundaries of how we could use it, had all sorts of collaborations with all sorts of people, industry partners, people from all different backgrounds. And then, that kind of kick-started my whole career. And I've always continued in simulation, mainly on the research and knowledge exchange pathway, and in that sense, and that's my real focus. But then I've also helped to set up simulation centre, and I've done lots of other work in developing simulations and simulation training, train the trainer packages. I've done work here in the US and in the UK and other parts of Europe. And when I left Imperial and the Imperial College Centre for Engagement and Simulation Science, I went to the University of Greenwich. They weren't doing any simulation at the time. And I had a joint appointment with an NHS trust, a hospital, and I was trying to actually increase research capacity and capability. And so I became associate head for research and knowledge exchange, and that's my main job. And I also then started to lead a centre for workforce development, so looking at how we train and educate and improve systems of care within the healthcare workforce, which fits lovely with simulation, of course. And so within that, I created a subgroup as well for research and knowledge exchange. And then I was part of, with Charles Everard and some other colleagues, developing the Greenwich Learning and Simulation Centre. And lots of things. There's been so much. And so that's been my kind of career trajectory. It started off clinically, went into research, came into simulation, and now I'm still in research and simulation.
Wow, I mean, it's a good career path, but it's interesting, the story about the swab being left in. That's always the thing in an operating theatre. I used to work in an operating theatre with cardiac surgeons who refused to have their needles counted in and out because they were too good to have the needle. It was up to the scrub nurse to make sure there was nothing left in there. So yeah, it's a good example of what can go wrong. Wow.
Yeah. But I think it was, I didn't even realize it at the time, but it obviously hit a nerve with me that this had impacted my life so much, what happened to me, and I wanted an opportunity to make a difference. And so, you know, being able to do work in that area has been really, it's been great.
Yeah, it's huge. What a great story. What a great story. But now you're working with Greenwich. You're the incoming president of ASPiH, as we mentioned before. How does it make you feel to be, you know, the incoming president of ASPiH? You are a president.
Yeah, well, not quite, almost. No, it's really exciting. I have to say, I feel as well the timing is perfect, and you know, different times of organizations or associations need different people and different things, and it feels like my coming in now, I don't think it would have been the right time a few years ago, but now is just right. And I think there's a particular drive that we're seeing from all the associations globally to work together more, to think about advancements more, to work beyond our kind of silos, and that suits me perfectly, especially with my research background, my desire for change, innovation and collaboration. So I mean, Gerald did mention a closer working with other societies around the world. What's that actually look like? How's that going to work? Well, that's what we're working on now, and it's, first of all, we're building those relationships, the trust amongst us, understanding what we need to do together that's going to advocate for everyone in the globe for simulation. And we don't just want to be, we want to be able to kind of drive the simulation agenda, not just within our simulation communities, but beyond it, and be advocates for simulation. And we can do that better if we strengthen, if we do it in numbers and we have the same message. So we're coming together, we're going to look at the key areas we need to focus on, where we need to be at the table, so that we are really driving things. We're ensuring resources are being put back into simulation as well. And if this is happening on a global scale, everyone will benefit from it. So we have to work together globally. So at the moment, we're at the stage where we are talking about all of these things, looking at how it could work, looking at some individual projects that we think should be global. And so we're doing them, but also thinking about the biggest strategy of it all and what the needs are.
And so, you know, you've got a clear mandate to basically work closer together with, you know, you know, the Society for Simulation in Healthcare, ASPiH, SESAM, etc., etc. From an ASPiH point of view, what personally would you like to see improved, or what would you, how would you like to put your stamp on it?
Yeah, so I think over the last few years, especially after COVID, we've had a focus mainly on, you know, kind of making sure that the association is financially secure, that we have done some great advancements in terms of, you know, standards, accreditation, increasing all sorts of kind of resources for our members. But I think we're now at the stage, and this is where I think I will be, well, I hope I will be able to, you know, really contribute, that we can start thinking on a more collaborative global scale. So what I want to bring, and I guess it's coming with my research hat as well, is how do we advance simulation for the better of all? How do we collaborate more effectively that's going to benefit us all? And how do we think more innovatively? Because I think we're literally just at the start of what simulation can do. There is so much more, and we're seeing it already. But how do we ensure that we're the ones who are making sure that happens, we're driving it, and externals aren't the ones doing that? You know, we should be driving simulation. We're the simulation community. We need to be at those tables advocating for it. And so, yeah, this is what I want to bring. I want to bring that collaborative, forward-thinking advancement approach.
And again, this is something that, you know, I would encourage ASPiH or any organisations to do. When you've got a room full of vendors, okay, you know what you want, you know what problems you need to solve. If you, as an organisation, said, we want to solve this problem and put it out to the vendors, okay, I'm sure that you would come back with some solutions quite quickly, and it could be even competitive to, you know, to go for the best solutions. You're in a powerful position. That's true. But I think that change has been happening over the last few years with, you know, practitioners, researchers, industry partners all starting to work together more and realising the value in all our expertise and skills, and we're quite a unique field in that way. I think simulation and healthcare, more so than a lot of other places. And so, yeah, I'm quite excited about that. And you're right, it's not everyone trying to do it themselves, which we used to do in the past, I think, working silos, reinventing the wheels every other week. We can't do that anymore. And so ASPiH as a whole, traditionally it's been aimed mainly towards patient simulation. I think that's fair to say. Okay, vendors turn up every year, from surgical companies, from ultrasound companies, all of the task training companies, BLS companies. What do you think you could do more to try and bring these vendors into the association and ensure something's included within the program for them, so it makes them worthwhile to reach their potential customers?
Yeah, no, this is a really good point, and we're working really hard on this. So Kevin Sterling, who is on the board of directors with us, he's been doing some fabulous work, really engaging with our industry partners. We've set up a few new initiatives, a corporate council, so that we can get some, we can really work with our industry partners and find out their needs. And we're starting to try and find those opportunities of where can we highlight this great work more, which it's fantastic work. It's still a journey and we still need to listen, but that's what we're doing. It's a really big driver for us at the moment.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you sense that, but we are really, focusing.
Oh, Kevin's doing a great job. Yeah, Kevin's has done a great job. And I think that there was success up in Scotland. For the first time, I felt that there was a more broader sort of segment of the simulation community that was represented there, and it's also good as well, because all of these people that are in ultrasound training and that are in clinical skills training, they want somewhere to go as well. So if there is a way of trying to bring them into the program and you guys are doing it, that's fantastic.
And also, inclusivity is huge for us, and simulation is huge, isn't it? It has so many specialities, so many different types, and it's growing constantly. And so it's a challenge in an association to be constantly making sure you're representing everyone, you're inclusive enough. And our current president-elect, Laura Chapman's always been very good on the inclusivity. She's a fabulous leader in that sense. And I hope I can continue that, because I do agree, we don't want anyone to feel they're being pushed out or they're not part of it. We are a community together. So.
Yeah, great. So what's happening in Bournemouth? What's going on?
Oh, well, I could tell you, but no, it's really exciting. We've got a few things lined up. Lots of stuff we're working on. And we've had lots of successful conferences. The last couple of years have been particularly successful, and Edinburgh was, as you say, a really, really good one. We're still all quite high from it still. So we want to make sure we can keep that momentum going at Bournemouth, keep that inclusivity. But at the same time, I think what we will be bringing in is this new sense of advocacy on a global scale. We are bringing the UK voice, particularly. We're not just for the UK, but we have a UK flavour. That's what's different to us, to the other associations, and we want to make sure that voice is heard on a global scale. And so I think that will be a kind of new flavour that people will have at the conference, hopefully. And we're hoping that these fantastic relationships that we're building with SSH and SESAM and others will mean that they're there too, and we can really, showcase that collective effort that we're driving.
Well, it's great. It's down in Bournemouth. It's close to near where I lived, so that's all right. Makes it easier for me. Thank you for doing that.
You're welcome. We always thought about you.
I know you were thinking about that. But so from a general point of view, I know you mentioned Roger Nebo before, but have you got any other heroes in simulation that you would like to give a shout out to? Gosh,
so many. That's a really hard one. There's a lot of people. So I've met a few here the first time, and I've been completely starstruck. So I went to the President's Ball the other night, and Janice Palagna was there, and she said her name, and I just almost froze because I've been reading her work for years. There's lots of heroes, and in different ways. I look to the other societies and how they've led things. I think people Barry Eisenberg, he's done with the society, and what Jared's going to do coming in. I also think with SESAM, they've had fabulous leaders over the years, and particularly recently with Francisco and Pierluigi. They're just doing wonderful stuff that really inspires me. But then on that kind of academic research level, yes, there's Roger's obviously huge there for me. There's Peter Diekman, there's lots of people, Doris Ostergaard, that have really transformed how we think. I have so many, honestly. I'm always in awe. And I should probably put a shout out to Charles Everard as well, who I work with, but he is one of my heroes. Yes, he's right there. He's absolutely fabulous. I've learned so much from him, and he actually has really changed my thinking over the years about how we work with industry. So he was the one who said, let's have a different relationship, let's not just be consumers, let's be partners. And that transformed how I was able, well, it enabled me to start being able to think about how to develop really amazing, you know, exciting new simulators or whatever it is, because the relationship is different.
I mean, again, just to allude to it, you and I are doing a bit of work together. Just to let you know that we are helping to create a driving simulator for paramedics, and I wonder if you can tell us a bit about that story.
Yeah, so there's a bit of a sadness to this story, but for some years now we've been thinking about the fact that there's not much out there for ambulance drivers in terms of training or even understanding about ambulance driver behaviours. And we're really lucky to work with Damien Poulter, who does a lot of research in driver behaviour. And we were looking into this for a while to make some kind of ambulance simulator. And then sadly, one of our student paramedics qualified a few years ago. And within 3 months of qualifying, her name was Alice Clark, and she was 21 years old, and she was involved in a crash in an ambulance and died. And that was, particularly because she was one of our students, it was very upsetting, but it really drove us to want to do something even more. We felt that this is an area, and there's also talk about regulatory changes as well at the moment going on within the paramedic community within the UK. So we managed to get some money. We got £100,000 to start off with, and we're building on that that income that we've managed to secure. And we're working with yourselves. And as I said, Damien, who has these fabulous research skills in driver behaviour. We're working with Charles Everett, who I've already mentioned. We have a paramedic on the team called Rod Slee, who's been working as a paramedic for a very long time and also as an educator, and myself and your team. And I'm really excited about what we can do with this. And I guess the end game is that we want to be able to have something that will help train our ambulance drivers, but at the same time we can generate research to understand the needs of the simulators, so that we're getting it right and we understand what that driver behaviour is like for ambulance drivers.
And from our point of view, it's a really great opportunity. So we thank you for that. But it will be led by you. We're taking cues from you, and that's how the whole program will be designed. So a question I'm asking everybody, okay, what's your thoughts, considering, let's put some context on it, considering that pharmaceuticals are, there's heavily regulated, medical devices are, the actual qualification for being a nurse or a doctor or an ODP or whatever, there's regulation behind that. But healthcare simulation seems to be sitting between. There's no industry regulation and very little sort of delivery of simulation regulation as well. What are your thoughts on that?
Regulations, I think there's a place for regulation completely, but I also worry about regulation in simulation, in healthcare simulation, because I think it can stifle innovation. And so I've been quite vocal on this within some of the nursing and midwifery councils and the HCPC, and I sit on some of those tables. And I think what is better is to have more of a standard that things like we've got with accreditation and our standards and stuff. There might be certain elements that might need to be regulated in the future. I don't disagree with that, definitely, but I don't think we can regulate the whole sector as a standard. I think just trying to even implement that would be crucially just be painful. So it's not that I don't think it shouldn't be done at all. I just think we have to tread very carefully, and I think we are we've been growing for a long time, but we are growing massively at the moment. And I don't just mean in terms of the sector, I mean in terms of what's coming out, what we can do, and now with AI entering, there's so much opportunity. And if we started to regulate everything, I worry that would make things more difficult for that innovation and progression and advancement. So I'm on the fence, I guess, in a way, but I think I'm leaning more towards not being regulated, if I'm honest.
I would agree. I would agree as well. Got a frog in my throat. I would agree. There's places for regulation, and then there's places not to have it. There could be some in there who could get involved, but so this is your chance now for a shameless plug of your university. Okay. Why should everybody go to your university? Tell us more about Greenwich, and how we can find out more about what's going on there.
It's a great university. It's in a lovely location in London, right on the Thames is one of our campuses. We have 3 main campuses. They're beautiful, and it's really going forward in a lot of different ways. I think we've been very fortunate to have some amazing people, particularly from a simulation perspective. So the team that we've grown over the last few years, having like Charles on the team, we've got simulation fellows who come from different parts of the healthcare sector, and they are fabulous, and they are really driving simulation in a wonderful way. And so one of the things our students have been saying is the best thing about Greenwich is the simulation. It helped us get to gold in the TEF, which is the Teaching Excellence Framework. And so, and because we do have this innovation and research and knowledge exchange side, we are developing things like ambulance simulators, and so what an opportunity for students who come to Greenwich to get to be the first to try some of these brand new innovations and be part of it. And a lot of the stuff we do in the research we do, we use our students or involve our students to make sure we're getting it right. And it's working. It's what they get good learning from it.
Fantastic. Well, Sharon, it's been great to have you here. Really appreciate your time. Good luck in your, future presidency of ASPiH. We're looking forward to seeing what happens. Thanks for coming along. And that's been the episode of Between Two Simulators. We'll be back for more on Monday, I think. Thanks for coming along.
Thanks, Jake.
Thank you very much.
I've enjoyed it.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.